I'm great. How are you?
I'm just so happy that, countries like England and Scotland can represent us in the World Cup this summer. Because Wales, disappointing.
You can't come in at 6 o'clock on a Friday morning and play this the day after.
I just felt Wales, I don't know what the tactics were. It was like a basketball game at times, end to end, too open at the back, Wales, and yeah, unlucky.
I feel that this is going somewhere else. You're not just being unlucky for Wales. This obviously points to.
You know what? I look at last night and I say to myself, it's probably a good thing that Wales didn't go through, because the last World Cup I was there and I went to some of the Wales games. They were poor. They drew 1-1 with USA, Gareth Bale penalty. They were getting so ahead of themselves. Then they lost 2-0 to Iran. Then they lost 3-0 to England. They faced 21 shots alone against Iran. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like Wales, the squad of players they've got, probably not ready for another World Cup. Didn't do themselves any favours in the last one.
I think this all stems from this guy who had a go at Gabby.
Who?
Play it, Ed. Play this guy.
And Agbonlahor, what a clueless man. What did he, earn, and what did he win with England? Oh, did he even make the squad? I don't mean he did. Absolute awful bloke. Footballer as well. Terrible. Absolutely terrible footballer. Absolutely terrible. But we're going to smash him, like I said, 3-0 today. No problem.
Oh, that didn't age well.
I know.
Did it?
Then they lost 3-0 to England. So no, that was the day of the game.
But is that where your Welsh
no.
comes from in your belly?
I just look at the Wales.
No.
Listen, the last World Cup, they done fantastic to get there. The size of their country, the players had available, of course. But that clip there was from me saying there's no Welsh player that would get in England's 22 or 26, whatever it was. And it was true. Gareth Bale was past his best in that tournament. And there was no other Welsh player that would get in England's squad.
Okay, that's where it all stemmed from.
Gutted for Ireland, though. Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland.
Aye, bit of a shame for them last night. Czechia go through 4-3 on penalties. Italy beat Northern Ireland 2-0, and Wales knocked out by Bosnia on penalties 4-2. That's the way it all went down for the home nations and Republic of Ireland last night. We can bring in a man who was at Cardiff City Stadium for us for talkSPORT a little bit more on where it all went wrong for the Welsh side. A very good morning to Lawrence Mora. Lawrence, good morning. I'm sorry you had to hear the national anthem and Gabby's hatred.
Oh, Gabby. I don't even know what to say to that, to be honest with you, at this time in the morning.
Gabby.
Just disappointed I'm not going to be able to share a red wine with you in USA.
No, it's still come, mate.
Lawrence, nightmare, but was it just not enough?
Yeah, well, do you know what, actually, there is, apart from a lot of the nonsense, there was actually a semblance of truth in what Gabby said last night. And then the chaos, and Craig Bellamy sort of referenced in his press conference yesterday, at 1-0, they did, while not having the game won, they had that foothold in the game. And they just lost control as Bosnia threw more players forward. Wales just tried to continue to play that pass out from the back. They tried to continue that style. Bellamy says they've been schooled differently, but in the heat of battle, it just turned into absolute chaos. And that was where Edin Dzeko managed to pop up. But Wales 62% possession, hit the woodwork twice, 19 shots. They did enough to win it, but they didn't at the crucial moments.
You know what disappoints me, and I'm sure all the Welsh people will say the same, is that you had a chance last night to win, and then the final would have been at home as well. Yes, against Italy, tough team, but I probably fancy Wales in a final at home against this Italy squad. But the winners of that game would have went into Group B with Qatar, Canada, and Switzerland. It's not the hardest group, is it, to go to in the World Cup?
Thanks, Gabs. Making me feel better here. No, look, it's and I think what was the kind of huge disappointment was the way that Wales have developed. You certainly referenced in 2022, and you're right. The getting to the World Cup was the big thing for Wales in 2022. By the time they got there, Bale was past his, was at the end. He was at the end, as were some of the older players. And this was an opportunity for Wales to actually really, really show what they're about at the moment with this younger team that's been developed for 2 years under Craig Bellamy. And that's the biggest disappointment, is this team possibly Harry Wilson and what have you at their absolute peak, go into a World Cup and being able to produce there. There's a home Euros next, but that sort of core of the team will be a little bit older, and we'll have to wait and see for the next generation being pushed through. But yeah, that's the disappointment. I think the opportunity to go there and actually do justice on the world stage.
Yeah, they're a real physical side as well. Last night, Bosnia. Talk to us about this 40-year-old. I mean, obviously Wales a younger squad, but a 40-year-old sending you to penalties.
Yeah, incredible. Edin Dzeko, he's just evergreen, isn't he? And all night Wales had put a really good sort of block on that. They'd stopped them being able to load the box and pile balls into the box until kind of late on in the second half. And that was, again, another one of the disappointments, really. There was at that point, Wales had ceded so much possession that it had gone backwards and forwards. And even Liam Cullen, I think, panicking at the back there in the last few minutes to concede that corner was unnecessary. But Dzeko, he looked fantastic up front with Demirovic, and the pair of them were beasts. And Wales managed to keep them fairly contained. But when you're that good at that level that you've been at, you're always able to grab that moment. And it came for him in the 86th.
I did fear for Wales because I was listening to talkSPORT last night, and it was Natalie Sawyer, Mickey Gray and Kevin Hatchard. And Kevin Hatchard, I think there was 2 minutes to go in extra time, and he says, I can see why Bosnia are trying to go into penalties, because their goalkeeper had saved something like 5 out of his first 6 penalties in the Bundesliga. And I was like, this doesn't sound good. But I've seen a few people give out some hate to Brennan Johnson for his penalty, and I'm like, listen, the nerves to step up. I've seen big superstar players not take a penalty, and they've been attackers. So fair play to the Welsh players that stood up. And it can happen, can't it? You can miss.
You can, and Brennan, in particular, we saw him leaving the pitch in tears with his shirt over his face last night. I did try to ask Craig a little bit about him and in terms of the season he's had, but it's possibly not the right time to kind of talk that. He's had a tough season, has Brennan. So to be able to step up at that moment, look, as Dan James was the man who missed the penalty 2 years ago against Poland at the Cardiff City Stadium, as we missed out on Euro 2024. So that's back-to-back tournaments we've missed out on penalties in playoffs. And Dan talked about how he felt like at that time he'd let the nation down. He said, but you sort of come again, and you've got to have that moment again. And Brennan will. He's a class act. But that's football, right? The roller coaster. You score the Europa League final winner 12 months ago, and then they come and they go.
They do. Listen, Lawrence Morrow, thank you so much for coming on this morning.
Cheers.
I hope you bounce back from here.